Hello and welcome back to the FTHcast. How's it going? It's episode 24. I think the last one was 23, and then the next one's going to be 25, which is good because it gives me another week.
Blowout.
We're gonna switch things up next week. Hopefully, we'll have all three of us together. Not really switch things up, but we're gonna change the show a little bit to make it a little more interesting. I don't know why I'm going into such detail right at the beginning, but that's okay. We're here, episode 24. It's the first week in November, the big week. Oh, you know what we haven't done? We haven't picked a game of the month.
Well, we'll have to do that.
I know. Usually we do it for the first week. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Maybe we won't do a game of the month this month because there's too much other stuff going on.
With consoles.
Yeah. And a bunch of billion new games, Call of Duty and Battlefield. But that's all right. I'm here with Nathan. Say hello, Nathan.
Hello.
And we're here just getting ready to talk about all these video games. Let's start out how we normally start out. What have you been playing this last week?
Arkham Origins. All week.
I played it up and I was loving it, and then I got distracted. I didn't play video games for like a few days in a row. And then I've been played some more Awesome Knots, which is actually gearing up to get some new DLC for it, which is going to add some new game modes and stuff. So I was getting back into that,
sweet.
Which is pretty exciting.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't get to play Arkham Origins hardly at all when it first came out, but yeah, I've played a crap ton of it the past 2 days.
It's really good. I
like it a lot. I mean, it's
more the same, but
really
it's just really good.
It's the same, but I didn't really want anything new.
Yeah.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
It's kind of the way I feel like about like the Fallout series. I was actually thinking about that today because I was like, man, I really wish there was a new Fallout game. But I was thinking, oh no, with new consoles, like hopefully they won't change it up too much. Like hopefully Fallout 4, if they ever release Fallout 4, it's just like
if they just did a graphic update on that and left everything the same.
Yeah, I definitely
I'd be excited.
They made changes from 3 to New Vegas that I thought were pretty cool, like with some of the leveling up and stuff, which
right.
If they kind of tweak some of the systems and stuff, but man, I just really like just how that game's always been laid out and how the stories have been told and stuff. Like, so I don't know. That was a really random thought, but yeah. I need to play more Arkham Origins.
Sweet.
And I'm really not like, and that's kind of what I said in the last podcast. Like, there's definitely some stuff that's the same. That's like whatever, but it's nice to know like that they didn't change too much. That they didn't try to like. I don't know. I feel like that's one of the few games that if they changed too much, it would have not worked.
I'm glad they left the combat untouched. At least I feel like it's the same as other ones because I really like the combat in those games.
Yeah, and we talked about that a lot too. God, the combat's so good in that game. You really feel it's tricky to like master, but it's still like fun and like satisfying. How did you feel about the that first fight with what's his face?
Killer Croc or Deathstroke?
Deathstroke, yeah.
Man, that fight scene was freaking awesome.
Was it hard?
Yeah, it took me at least like 10 tries to beat it.
Yeah, that's what Kyle was saying. Actually, last time I talked to Kyle,
figure it out the first few times. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then after I was like, I got to use its back claw and and like do a bunch of counters and stuff.
Yeah, I basically just countered and that was basically it, and it took forever. It took Kyle. Actually, last time I talked to Kyle, he still hadn't beaten it. So, but that was
really?
That was a week ago. So surely he's beaten it now. But like,
okay,
it took me like 4 or 5 tries, and I was like, man.
I was supposed to say, if the bosses were all like that, I would be really pleased. Just like that dynamic.
Yeah, and they've kind of done that in the past. Like they've been similar, but they've felt different. I don't know.
I feel like they added new enemies kind of in this. They have I don't know if you've gotten to them yet. It's like mixed martial arts masters or whatever. So they're like kung fu guys you fight. So they're like really fast and like you can't just press Y against them to counter them. You may have to like you press Y, it blocks one of their moves, and you may have to tap it again to block another one of their moves and stuff like that. It gets, I don't know, it's pretty interesting when you're fighting those mixed in with everybody else.
Yeah, that is cool. Oh man, I tried doing some of the challenges, and that's when I like realized I wasn't good at the game because like I beat them, but like I didn't get that many points, and I was like, man, I'm really not utilizing all the different moves I can do.
I'm not either because after every battle it gives you like a grade or whatever after your XP. I always get like C's.
But I love it. All right, well, you know what? Let's talk new consoles, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some new releases that came out in the past week or so. But yeah, so this is November. It is the month of new stuff, a bunch of new stuff. Actually, probably going to have a lot of announcements this month too. Not just with consoles. We have BlizzCon coming up this week. But yeah, let's concentrate. I guess on consoles because that's the big stuff this week. We got the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One coming out. That one, coming out this week, and we kind of know where we stand on each one. You're definitely leaning more Xbox, and I'm definitely leaning more PlayStation.
Right.
But
I think both will be great. But I'll get a PS4 eventually.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's gearing up, in my opinion, to look like it's gonna end up the same as the last generation, in the sense of like the PlayStation 4 is bouting all this, oh, we're way more powerful and all this stuff, and the Xbox One is gonna have all the good games like right off the bat.
Right.
At least all like the big, it's not that they're necessarily the best games, but they're the games that are gonna be marketed to the most people. Like the PlayStation 4 like has really good games, but they're games that like, or I guess just say PlayStation in general, like that are only going to be marketed towards certain type. Like Kingdom Hearts is supposed to be a really, really good game, but it's not everybody's going to like that game,
Right.
And that's kind of the way it's always been. So,
well, that's what we kind of. I guess we can go into like the Titanfall thing now, but because I was going to mention like, Titanfall got announced. It's going to be a lifetime exclusive for PC, Xbox, at least for the first one. That doesn't mean sequels won't be on other ones. But it's kind of like weird the way those games work with like Mass Effect, for instance, and like BioShock. Those first released on Xbox. They're Xbox exclusives for like the first. BioShock 1 was. BioShock 2 came out on PS3 later. But for some reason, they don't sell well on the other console. Like you look at Mass Effect sales for like Mass Effect 3, that released on both PS4 or PS3 and Xbox 360, and like 360 way outsold it.
Yeah,
that's gonna feel the same thing with like Kingdom Hearts. Like Kingdom Hearts it's like a huge Sony base, and I don't feel like anyone that plays Xboxes really cares as much about Kingdom Hearts as they do.
And I don't know. It's part of that I think is just like building up the player base off the first game. Like,
right?
Like if I didn't play the first Mass Effect, I never would have played the second or third.
Yeah, I agree. That's what it was kind of. Yeah, I guess it's with a game that huge too, having to catch up on the story.
Yeah,
would probably be part of it.
So, and you were talking about Titanfall, and Titanfall is really interesting, and I think this is probably how it plays out for most of the games that are that come out like that where the first one's definitely exclusive and the next ones are iffy. Because remember when the Xbox One first announced or whatever, they talked about how like, oh, we put $6 trillion into studios and made studios and like built up studios. Like that's obviously what Titanfall is. Like Titanfall is like, I forget the studio's name, or the developer's name.
Respawn.
Yeah, Respawn
Entertainment.
Obviously, they got a bunch of money from Microsoft,
and they have to. That's what I'm saying. Like for a gaming company, the way that how much it costs to produce games now, like you have to sell a crap ton of copies, especially for your first game. Coming from a new developing company, Microsoft had to shell out some money for them to be like, you're going to be exclusive.
Yeah, you rarely see titles like that come out of new studios,
which
that aren't backed by
it's weird.
A single person, like a single company. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there was a tweet that went out that from the head developer of Respawn, and he said he didn't have any clue they were going to be a lifetime exclusive.
Really?
So I feel like, I don't know, they didn't really dig deeper into that. At least I didn't read anything more about it because it came out. Microsoft didn't announce it. EA's CEO or CFO or something like that came out and said, it'll be exclusive for Xbox, and they were kind of like, oh, we love our partnership with Microsoft, but we had no idea it was going to be a lifetime one. So I don't know. That's weird.
And that kind of makes sense in a way that that. If you're being published, then you really don't have much control over that.
Right.
Unless your game's that big, unless you can, you can throw your weight around a little bit. But this is a new studio. It's a new game. Nobody really knows how well it's going to pan out. I think it's going to be great, but who knows?
I think that's probably a big part of Microsoft's strategy is for sure get that as a exclusive. So it's a console seller for spring. You know, people may not buy a console now, but whenever that game comes out and everyone's getting so much hype around it, that's huge for them. So.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I'm surprised they're even still allowing it on PC too, just because one, there's no, and it may not necessarily have worked out anyway, but there's no cross-platform play between PC and Xbox, and they could sell more Xbox Ones if they didn't sell it on PC. I mean, maybe not that many more at least, but I mean, it's definitely.
I feel like they should have at least made it Xbox One exclusive. Not, I mean, or Xbox One and PC or something, not 360.
Oh, is it 360 as well?
Yeah, there's 360 as well, which kind of bums me out a little bit, but whatever.
That's just something they're gonna do for a while, which is, it is what it is.
I don't know, like they said, Microsoft promised they're gonna, like, I don't know, back it for like the next 3 or 5 years or something like that.
Not
360.
5 years. Jeez Louise, 5 years.
Something like, well, maybe it's not 5 years, but it's
even
like 2
3
or 3
years. Like give them a year and force people.
That's what would do. Buy a new console or stop playing.
Yeah, stop playing. Like, and I guess in a way it's probably a little bit more to do with like some of their multiplayer services and some of the just like bug fixing, and not necessarily like games. It may just be like services and stuff for the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure by next year, by next November, a lot of those games, especially some of the year, Assassin's Creed 5 will probably be Xbox, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how many games next year this time are on both generations.
Yeah,
of consoles. It'd be a shame, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were on both generations.
Yeah, that's especially like the ones that will be on Xbox and PS4.
Yeah,
will most definitely be on all.
And I mean, there's definitely going to be some people who's like, well, I just can't fork out $500. I'm going to wait until they come out with a cheaper.
Well, that's understandable, but yeah.
I definitely didn't get my 360 until I could afford it, and I bought a pretty cheap 360. So
that's what I'd say. I didn't buy it till like 2 years after it was out, or a year and a half, or something like that. So,
but I don't know. I don't know exactly how marketing works when it comes to consoles, and it's fairly new for everybody. I mean, we've only had so many generations of consoles, and some of those generations bombed horribly.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Especially like the first few, but I don't know. We talked a little bit about Titanfall, so let's just talk about first person shooters and Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty that just came out. Cause did you get Battlefield 4?
No, I was, but I decided to wait. What made me mad was I'm going to go all digital on the next gen.
Yeah.
But they didn't have with Battlefield 4, like you could buy a downloadable code for Xbox 360 and then upgrade to Xbox One for $10 just digitally. Like they did that for Call of Duty Ghosts, but I could care less about that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so I just decided I'd wait to just buy it on Xbox One.
Well, I've watched, and I didn't get either one either. Like, so I don't. First off, I have no like experience with the game, and I played a little bit of Black Ops 2, and I didn't play hardly any of Battlefield 3. But it seems like Battlefield 4 is literally a better looking Battlefield 3. Like, there's almost no changes at all to it, except for, I mean, they have the
huge Levolution thing, and then like Commander mode. I think those are their two big changes.
But Commander mode is coming back from Battlefield 2.
Right. So other than the standard map, new maps, new guns, better looking graphics, I mean, and new story, that's pretty much it.
And the Levolution stuff, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, people are like, don't do that. Like, it makes the map worse. Like, there's the one with the dam. It's like, well, now all of a sudden you have to swim or you have to like fight on boats, and nobody wants to fight on boats.
Right.
And then everybody talks about like and I don't know what all the levels are, but then of course there's the big tower that falls down, the skyscraper, and people are like, well, don't. It's a lot more interesting when you don't knock it down and you have this really tall vertical play.
Like I said, I haven't played it, but I actually talked to Zach today about it, and he was saying that that hardly anyone does the evolution things. I mean, some of them occur naturally,
Yeah.
like as the level progresses. But like yeah, as far as like the tower and the dam and a couple other ones, he said yeah, people just don't do it just because they don't want the map changed.
Yeah, and then I was watching a review on Call of Duty, and they didn't even mention any of the stuff that happens in Call of Duty, because there is kind of a similar type deal where you can knock stuff over and make stuff happen. It's not necessarily as big as what Battlefield 4 does, but yeah, but they didn't even mention it in the reviews. Like it just is meaningless, and I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, cool. I mean, destruction's cool, and it's nice to be able to like knock down buildings and drive through them, but I mean, that's not why we play the game. We play the game because it's fun and exciting and it's new, and like you can't just add gimmicks to these same old titles. And that kind of brings me back to Titanfall. What makes Titanfall interesting is like they have a very large mechanic in it that makes the game completely different, and that's like the big mech suit. So it's like this huge asymmetrical gameplay that if they balance out and is really fun, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And it'd be, I don't know. I don't see myself, like, I don't know. Like, I'm really worried about future first-person shooters. Like, right now, I'm kind of holding out for Halo before I buy another first-person shooter. Like, Titanfall looks interesting, but I'm looking for something that's going to feel different and not feel like, the same old.
Right.
And Halo's, I mean, definitely the last few Halo games are reiterations of what the original Halo game was, with some
yeah. A lot of people apparently did not like Halo 4 multiplayer.
Who is that?
Just from judging from people online, and like I actually just read an article that was talking about how the population on Halo 4 has just gone way downhill.
Yeah.
Apparently people don't like it at all. I think it's awesome. I mean, given I didn't really get into multiplayer very much as far as Xbox Live on like the first 3.
Yeah.
Really, Reach was the first one I played online.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I played Halo. I mean, back in the day was System Link and stuff, and just like local multiplayer. I played the heck out of that on Halo 1 and 2. But I enjoy it.
Yeah, I played Halo 3 quite a bit online. I was horrible. That's when they still had like a ranking system that they don't really have now. They have this weird leveling up system, but that's when they had like the ranking system where if you did really good, then your number would get lower, and if you did bad, your number would get higher.
Yeah.
And they would rank you with like similar players.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. But man, Halo 3 was great. That was like, and I can definitely see why, one, it hasn't changed much since Halo 3, because Halo 3 was really, really good. I mean, that's where like Griffball comes from. That's where SWAT comes from. That's where a lot of the game modes that they still have come from is from Halo 3. And I mean, it was really solid. And so, yeah, I can definitely see why. And we're a prime example, because when Halo 4 came out, we played the crap out of it, but it was still felt a lot like Reach, and so we still didn't play a whole lot. But with the new system and a new developer behind Halo, I'm hoping we can get something really different. And I guess, I say I'm not going to buy another first-person shooter until Halo. I definitely have already pre-ordered Destiny. But Destiny's, I don't know.
Destiny's kind of in a different game. It is first-person, but like, I don't know. It's a way different feel than a Battlefield or Call of Duty.
Yeah, I don't know.
Halo.
It doesn't. I don't know if there's any of that. I don't think there's a kind of a matchmaking PvP in any of that.
I don't think so. I mean, at least not from what I've seen.
It'd be cool if it had that. I could see it. I could see that being really cool. But there's also like, I guess there's leveling up and equipment stuff, so they would have to somehow balance that with PvP.
Right.
I don't know. First person shooters like these last two that came out, the Call of Duty and Battlefield 4, it just goes to show like how little interest, like, or just, I don't know, like how stale first person shooters have gotten. Like,
that's what I'm curious. I'm gonna have to look it up later after we get done with this. I want to see how well Battlefield 4 and this new Call of Duty sold their first week or first day or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Call of Duty sold.
I want to say I kind of hope it tanks, but I know it won't. I'm sure it sold a crap ton of copies, but
there's no way it tanked. But I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers were down from last year. They said they're going to sell like $1 billion worth, but
they say they're going to sell more than Grand Theft Auto, and I don't believe that, but maybe.
I hope not. I hope people learn from Grand Theft Autos, because like, I bought into it after a while and learned the lesson that it was the same old, and they had a bunch of problems. And
I don't like the multiplayer. I love the single player in that game though, but
the multiplayer could have been amazing.
Oh yeah, it could have been. If they would have focused on really organized big heists to do for the friends, I would have ate that up all day.
Now,
but
apparently there's a patch coming out, and it may even be this month or maybe soon at least, where they're gonna add heists for your crew to do.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Your friends to do, which would be cool. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. How like they'll have to be fairly dynamic, because otherwise, I could see it being fairly repetitive and not being fun.
Right. Yeah.
Like a lot of the game modes are just kind of repetitive and not that fun.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, so I don't know what else. Oh yeah, I just remembered or just looked at the show notes. The resolutions, that's kind of a big deal coming off these first-person shooters that are coming out. I think.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that? Like, what do you think? Do you think it's a big deal or no?
So let's explain it first, and then we'll do opinions. So right now, and I think this is talking mainly about Call of Duty and Battlefield 4, maybe even just Battlefield 4. With the new systems, the PlayStation 4 is going to run at native 1080p at 60 frames per second. And Xbox 360 the Xbox One is going to run at 720p, and then it's going to upscale to 1080p, but it's also going to run at 60 frames per second. Now, the thing is, it's going to be really cool that it's going to run at 60 frames per second. Like that is, if it's a solid, consistent 60 frames per second, that's going to be the big deal. To me,
that's what the developer said they were shooting for. Mainly, they said they didn't really care about resolution. They wanted to hit 60 frames.
And I think that's smart. I think 60 frames is better than 720 to 1080.
Well, because they showed I saw a video of like comparing Battlefield 4 footage on PS4, Xbox One, and then PS3 and Xbox 360. And literally, if their Xbox One is 720p, I could not tell a difference. Yeah. I couldn't tell you the difference because all it looked like was Xbox One was brighter and PS4 was darker. Other than that, they both looked incredible.
The main difference you're going to notice is like text. Text will come out clearer in 1080p than 720p upscaled, but it's still upscaled, so it's not perfect, but it's much better.
Right.
Than just a native 720p. But this 60 frames per second to me is more important. Because
I agree.
It helps with accuracy, honestly, and it also helps with. It just makes all the animations and stuff look better, and that's something they'll eventually figure out. This is a new system. Eventually, they'll figure out how to push it to 1080p at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, and that's why I don't understand why everyone is freaking out, like saying like, I mean, I know PS4 fanboys are just going to be I've been going crazy over it, but even like people that have been hardcore Xbox are like, oh, well, this is just absurd. Yeah. Well, it's new, like you're saying, it's new tech. It's not like it lacks the capability of running 1080p. Forza 5 runs at 1080p, and I believe Rise runs at 1080p.
Yeah.
So it's not like they lack the ability to. It's just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And if you're not worried about if you look at that footage and you're not worried about looks, I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. I mean, I won't doubt that the PS4 is more powerful than the Xbox One because it probably is. I think it has a better GPU.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's the hugest deal as people think. I mean, like you were saying, it'd be one thing if it was like PS4 runs at 60 frames, Xbox One runs at 30 frames. That would be a big deal to me.
Yeah. And honestly, like a lot of people will probably be able, especially like I was saying with text and stuff, like people would probably be able to tell the difference between 720 native and 1080 native. But 1080 upscaled to 1080 native is probably not going to be that big a difference. Like people probably won't notice that. And honestly, most of these people who play consoles are not going to know the difference between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. Like,
right.
And that's just like, you just have to train your eye to be able to notice that stuff. Like I didn't really notice that stuff until I started using fraps and stuff when I was recording, and I was actually watching the numbers change, and I was seeing things go from 60 to 30, and I was noticing like smoothness and stuff.
Right. And
But
if you're not watching it side by side, like here's a 60 frame picture, here's a 30 frame per second
yeah,
footage. Like, yeah, you're not going to notice, oh, well, this isn't quite as good or something.
yeah, and I guarantee you, I mean, um, the old I mean, on Xbox 360, it's running. It might be running 60 frames per second, but it's definitely not running 1080p. It's probably running 720p for both Call of Duty and Battlefield 4.
I suppose I feel like probably most current gen games probably don't run at 1080p.
Yeah,
I mean, I think maybe a few do, but I
and
don't
if they
know.
do, they don't run 30 or 60 frames per
Oh,
second.
heck no.
And so most people who play consoles now, unless they're also PC gamers or and they have like nice gaming PCs, they're not going to notice. And if they have nice gaming PCs, then they're probably not playing their consoles that much. So
Right.
it's just really strange. And then there's a whole fact that like if you don't have a new nice TV, if you have even like an old flat screen and it's not at least 100 megahertz,
Yeah, like 120
not
hertz and 1080p. I mean, if you're on a 720p TV, what do you care?
yeah, you're not gonna get anything out of it anyway.
Exactly.
You gotta have the nice TV too. So it's just weird. It's just weird that, to me, it's weird that there's such an uproar about it when I think it's a lot of people jumping on this bandwagon of saying, "Oh, I know what I'm talking about." When
Right.
most of them, if no one had ever told them, then they would have probably never cared.
This whole like console launch generation is like just really weird to me because it never, I don't, at least never that I noticed, like ever in the past, is it when two consoles come out, I guess none of them have come out like head to head like this, but everyone's like, oh, well, this one's RAM is, da 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 faster, or this
Yeah,
one has a hair slider GPU, or I'm like, who? I mean, when did console gaming come down to specs rather
yeah,
than video games? Like, I love Borderlands 2, and it's freaking cell shaded.
yeah,
I
and
mean, I want a good looking game, but I'm not gonna justify. Oh well, this one has a better whatever, so I'm gonna buy it.
yeah,
I
and
just find it weird that that's what everyone is like battling about.
yeah, and there's definitely a lot more to video games, obviously, than just like it looking as real as possible, or that there's a lot of details on the screen. Like if the stylized version of this game is that it's very simplistic but it's very interesting, or that there's no particle effects or there's a lot of particle effects, like it doesn't matter as long as the game's designed well, and the visuals make sense to what you're doing. Then it doesn't matter that it doesn't look absolutely amazing. But and it's weird that people are putting it. I think what it is, and kind of like what you said, is like, I don't remember the last time. I don't think did PS3 and Xbox 360, they were pretty close to each other.
I think Xbox 360 was like maybe a year before PS4,
Yeah, and
PS3.
that's probably the closest we've ever really had, other than like Nintendo might have been close, but I don't
No,
think
people don't
Nintendo's.
really compare Wii's.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nintendo's to like.
because I'm pretty sure the GameCube and the Xbox came out really, really, maybe even the
I
same
think
year.
I was about to say, yeah, I think they did.
But those two things were so far different. So to me, it feels very political. Like this whole thing
Yeah.
is like people are mudslinging, and it's not even like Sony and Microsoft. It's other people who are mudslinging for them, and it's just very strange because it's
Just the fan base, yeah, not actually Microsoft or Sony's really doing anything. It's like, yeah, their fan base. It's not like, have fun with your console. It's like, oh, your
yeah.
console's garbage and da 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 da.
I mean, I guess there was a little bit that when they had their first few conferences and at E3. I mean, there was definitely
Yeah.
a little bit of like, we're gonna make what do you say?
Well, that was back when they had Xbox One had all that DRM, and they were
Yeah.
like, oh, this is how you trade games on ours, and it just
Right.
shows them like handing a game to the other guy.
Which in a way was, in
It's
my opinion,
smart.
it was appropriate.
I mean, yeah, it was smart. I mean,
But yeah, it'll be.
back and ever since then, I think that's why everyone's so bitter against Microsoft. Because I mean, I know for a fact, I mean, some of the people I know are only buying a PS3 because they were just pissed off at Microsoft for doing that
Yeah.
to begin with, which I don't really understand because that's the way gaming's going in the future anyway. But regardless, I mean,
Yeah, it'll be an interesting month to say the least. I'll be interested to see how the sales numbers. Obviously, they're going to be what they are. I mean, they're going to be amazing for both for both companies. Both companies are going to make. I mean, they're going to lose money, but they're going to sell a million consoles.
I was about to say, yeah, they already broke all kinds of pre-order records. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, and it all boils down to games. I mean, like, I canceled my pre-order for my PlayStation 4 because the one game I was excited about is not coming out, and everything else is, I mean, it's iffy. I might buy it after I get my PlayStation 4 if it ends up with, some of the games end up with good reviews or whatever. But for the most part, there's not a whole lot that I'm really pumped about. And
I mean, if I was you, I mean, just wait till spring. Springtime is gonna be like the new fall season for video games. There's
I think
so much coming out this spring. It's crazy.
I would really like to see Dark Souls 2 go to new consoles. I'm kind of.
Is it not going new consoles?
I don't think so. I think it's just 360, PlayStation 3.
Oh, okay. See, that's why I was curious why you bought it on 360.
Yeah, because it's not. Yeah, they're not doing a new console, which is fine. In my opinion, I'm not going to ask them to do that because FromSoft, they made Dark Souls 1 and they made a fantastic game. They made Demon. Well, I don't know if it's them particularly, but most of them made Demon Souls. I think they were under another name then. And they're making Dark Souls 2, and so they're just making it as simple as possible on themselves, and it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. I'm so excited about it. They're not going to have the Windows. They're using their own servers. They're not using Microsoft servers or Sony servers. They're going to use their own servers, so the matchmaking, or not matchmaking, but like the co-op play and stuff will be a lot better. PvP sounds fantastic on it.
I hope it sells well. It kind of scares me for these gaming companies that are just releasing current gen games after the next gen comes out. I'm sure it will do well, but it wouldn't have done just as well if
they have a huge
that one. Yeah, it's a huge following. But like games like the Stick of Truth, that new South Park game, it got delayed again.
Did it really?
Yeah, it was going to come out in December, early December. Which I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. Now it's not coming out till March. It was supposed to come out in March of last year.
Was it? Isn't Bethesda the one that's publishing this?
No, it was initially like,
or it's
THQ or something like that, and then THQ went out of business.
It's not Bethesda. It's
no, it's Ubisoft, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was. Who are the people that work with Bethesda that does RPGs?
BioWare.
Maybe. Is it BioWare?
I don't think.
I thought it started with an O.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
I can't think of the company's name.
I know they had to switch game developers because THQ was the initial one, and then they went out of business. And so, a new gaming company, they bought franchises from THQ, and so they had to go to a new developer. I'm sure that set them back.
Obsidian.
Is it Obsidian?
I could be wrong, but that was the name I was trying to think of.
Okay. Yeah, Obsidian is the guys that did Dead Space games, which were
fantastic. They published, or maybe they worked on New Vegas, maybe even Fallout 3. And they do a lot of RPGs. That's what made me think it was probably them. They do a lot of just random RPGs for Square Enix and stuff. But yeah, so I don't know. New consoles delayed. Stick of Truth. That's really sad. That actually makes me really sad because I've literally been looking forward to that game, and now it makes me think. I don't know what to think.
I'll still buy it just because I think it looks awesome. I watched some footage of it the other day, and it was hilarious.
Yeah,
but
as long as it's funny.
It does bum me out. I was like, man, they're killing themselves, but keep on delaying this game.
Yeah, it's such an easy, like, to me, it's such an easy game to play, like, make. You just make a simple RPG, like
that's what I'm saying. It's turn based.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's what I don't understand. It's not like it's groundbreaking graphics. Like I said, I know they had the developer switch, which would set anybody back, but that's why I figured the big delay was from March to December, but I don't know why they delayed it another 3 months.
And I'm pretty sure the creators of South Park, wrote everything, so it's going to be hilarious. All you got to do is make a simple system. People eat that shit up. They don't care.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who cares? Like, I would play something that played like Final Fantasy but had the humor of South Park.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I think that's just about there's not much else going on except for just anticipation for everything else. BlizzCon is coming up. I'm actually excited for BlizzCon. There's rumors that
any big announcements coming up.
There's rumors there's going to be a new World of Warcraft expansion.
Expansion. I thought you were going to say new World of Warcraft. I was like, no way.
No. They're probably going to show off their MOBA. talking about, it's like their version of Dota or League of Legends. So it's going to be their little competitive game, but it's going to use all their characters, called Heroes of the Storm. I think that's what it is. And there's I'm really kind of hoping they open up the beta, or at least release their card game. What is it called? Oh, I totally lost my Hearthstone. Because I've literally watched every Hearthstone video. Like this one guy, not every single one, but there's this guy, Force Strategy Gaming, on YouTube, and he releases really, really good in-depth videos about Hearthstone, which is just like this digital card game that they have. But he also used to be like a competitive Magic player, and he still does like Magic videos, like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And so he knows what he's talking about, and I just love watching him. And so like, I don't know every single card in there, but I pretty much know every single card, and I've never even played the game. So I don't know. That's kind of my big hope for BlizzCon. Other than that, I could really care less about the World of Warcraft expansion. And they'll definitely have the Diablo 3 expansion, which I might be excited about. They're making some changes to Diablo 3 that I'm kind of interested at. They're going to make the loot a lot better and stuff, so it might be more fun to play. So
yeah.
Other than that, it's all waiting for consoles.
Heck yeah. Oh yeah. Also, Xbox One info gets dropped tomorrow.
Oh yeah, as of the recording. So as of the release, that means today.
Oh right, yeah.
Because we're releasing it tomorrow, so today. So if that makes sense to you, then you're smarter than I am. That's how that works.
Woo.
But yeah, so I think that's good. What do you think? Anything else? I can't think of anything else.
Nope.
The game of the month is, I don't know. If we have one next week, I'll let you know.
We may wait. We may see if maybe some of these launch titles or something like that blows us away or something on the next gen.
The problem is we won't be able to. Well, I won't be able to play them because
I'll just tell you how awesome it is.
We might just skip a month since this is such a big news month. The next couple podcasts are probably going to be exclusively about the consoles and the launches and stuff like that.
Right. And all the bugs that will inevitably happen.
Yeah, and all the horrible messes that are going to happen over the next couple weeks. And then we'll probably that's what we'll do. And then in December we'll have a game of the month. And that'll be that. Alrighty. So that was episode 24. Thank you for listening. I have been Paul, also known as Free the Hawk. You can follow me on Twitter at Free the Hawk. And thank you, Nathan, for coming. He is at
Heisenberg 56.
Heisenberg 56. I almost said Grammaton Cleric, which is not right. Yeah, like us on the YouTubes and rate us up on the iTunes if you're listening. And that's youtube.com/freethehawk. And you can, of course, just search FTHcast in iTunes to find us there. So yeah, thank you all so much. Bye.